Welcome back. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. The new year is right around the corner, and so I thought I would talk about yogic skill. Setting a goal for the new year, creating yogic skill. So, let's get into it. You know, every new year I remember a poem from Omar Khayyam. Now the new year, reviving old desires, the thoughtful soul to solitude retires, where the white hand of Moses on the bough puts out, and Jesus from the ground suspires. Just beautiful, right? So we have now the new year reviving old desires. And what is that? Is he simply talking about our childhood desires? No, not at all. He's talking about what Maslow would call the self-actualization, that once we have our basic needs met, we have shelter, we have food, we have some security, we have some love in our lives, then we will reach higher and higher into the deep brain, into what Maslow called self-actualization. Those are the old desires that Omar is telling us about, right? Those old hidden desires. There's a quote from Yogananda, "For wisdom too, man has native hunger." Isn't that amazing? Those are the old desires Omar is talking about. The thoughtful soul to solitude retires. Now, is that simply running away to go home, to go to your couch, to go to your bedroom? Or is it it's a deeper solitude that comes from yogic skill, that we enter into interiorization through the freeze response. And the whole world, our whole body, our whole story dims from our awareness, and we retreat into the parasympathetic system and the deep brain. That is the real solitude that the yogis and Omar is talking about. Where the white hand of Moses on the bough puts out. Now that's beautiful. A white hand reaching out to you. Isn't that a download? Doesn't that sound like a download to you? If you've ever noticed a download coming to you in meditation, something comes to you out of nowhere. A white hand comes, tapping you on the shoulder, reminding you of something very deep and beautiful. It's an intuition. You're going so deep. You're away from so much noise in that solitude inside. Suddenly, the download takes place. The left brain is extremely linear. It's one thing at a time. But when we get closer and closer to the right brain, it embraces everything at once. And so multiple connections are taking place simultaneously. And when you near that kind of wisdom will take place automatically. That kind of understanding and knowing will reach out and touch you like a white hand. And finally, Jesus from the ground suspires. Well, that's the roll-up of consciousness, isn't it? Your consciousness going up into the deep brain. And so that one little poem represents so much of the yogic path. So what a beautiful thing to start the new year with. So if we're going to set some yogic goals for ourselves, I always like to start with the basics: HRV resonance, sitting very still, noticing the 4 proofs, and maybe a little bit of Om Japa in the chakras. And that's exactly what I go over in my book. So if you're new to yoga, let that manual be your guide, because it will lead you straight into the beginning levels of mastery. So if you can sit down and enter into HRV resonance, right away your heart rate is going down. Your breath rate is getting longer. And you've now entered into the beginnings of tranquility. If you are sitting very still at the same time and you notice any of the 4 proofs that I talk about, well, now you know your parasympathetic system has come online. And this is profoundly tranquil. This is actual beginning level mastery of yogic skill. This is very important to understand because once you reach that, once you can do that every day, you have entered into a level of mastery that usually requires 20 or even 40 years. It really does. That's usually what it requires. But because you know how it works, you just go out and do it. And it absolutely blows my mind because it took me so long. And you all just stream ahead. It's just beautiful. I love it. Once you have the parasympathetic system online, you've induced HRV resonance, you are sitting very still, and you notice some of the 4 proofs, you are in that beginning level of mastery. If you can do that every single time you sit down to meditate, it's yours now. It's yours. And you've entered that first level of mastery. That's why I say we're going to split it into 2. That's the first level of mastery. It usually takes 20 or 40 years. But it's so easy because you know how it works. The next level of mastery to look for inside of ourselves are the 3 essentials, what I call the 3 essentials. The tranquil breath, do I have that? Is it showing up? The freeze response, do I have that? Is it showing up inside of me? Do I have the roll-up of consciousness? This is actually what a Kriya Yoga is trying to give you, what a Raja Yoga is trying to give you, what any meditative tradition, which is very, very deep and profound, that those 3 things are what they're trying to give you. Because those are things you cannot force. You cannot force yourself into these things. I was talking the other day to some students on Patreon, and we were talking about Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is so great because you can't force yourself to relax and sleep. You have to learn how to induce it. It's the same thing with those 3 essentials. You cannot force your way to them. You have to keep on doing the first level of mastery, inducing all of those things. And then out of that, that second level of mastery will blossom inside of you. And you'll start noticing, oh my God, I think this is the tranquil breath. Oh my goodness, I think this is the freeze response. Oh my goodness, I'm doing the Om Japa in the 6 chakras, and I'm noticing there is a movement upwards towards the brain. There's a roll-up of maybe energy, but more importantly, my consciousness is rising up. We start to notice that rising of our consciousness. The things which we are preoccupied with in our daily life, the worries, the concerns, we float up above them. We rise up above them into the heart, into the throat, into the medulla, into the very deep brain. We notice that movement, and now we've become like Omar. And Jesus from the ground suspires. We notice that roll up of our consciousness. That level of mastery is absolutely profound, because if you hang out in those 3 essential things, the tranquil breath, the freeze response, and the roll-up of consciousness, if you hang out in those, then you're going to automatically begin to absorb. Maybe you will absorb into the Om vibration. Maybe you will absorb into the space around your body. That's a beautiful beginning absorption where you feel yourself spreading out into the air around you. It's a small absorption. And then the small absorption goes on and it becomes a profound absorption. And we keep entering into expansion. and that's the right brain. So just hanging out with those three essentials, we automatically enter into clarity, we automatically enter into absorption, and if we do that again and again, then we will automatically have a union experience, a samadhi. But it all started with the things that we can actually do. It started out with sitting very still in HRV resonance and noticing, paying attention and noticing the four proofs that the parasympathetic system has turned on. And maybe doing some Om Japa in the chakras, which will facilitate that roll-up of consciousness. So just starting with those little things, they turn into something very, very deep. And those three essential, very deep yogic skills that arise inside of us then translate into the very heart, the very depth of yogic meditation and what it has to offer you, which is this absorption into the deep brain, this humongous expansion of your awareness and your consciousness. And that's what I wish for all of you this new year, this 2024. I hope this was useful for you, that I'm laying out the progression, which is in my book. This is the Yoga Sutras. What Patanjali did was he laid out all of the states, and then he gives you a little hint of what the practice might be that will get you there. Because he wasn't trying to teach you how to do it. He was just laying out the path. This is the path that all us yogis know about. And we know the techniques that get there, but I'm not going to put that in the book, he says. This is the book giving you the heart of what to actually do, which will lead you to the states that Patanjali wrote about first. So he's writing about the states first, and then he backtracks to how we get there a little bit, and I'm giving you the opposite. I'm giving you how we get to the state. Okay, here's the state, and this is what Patanjali is talking about. So it is, the whole book is Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. It is that. Starting off with what do we actually do? Because once we do, then we be. And we go back and forth with that. We do, and then we let go and enjoy. We see what comes up, what arises naturally and easily. We do a little, and then we let go. We just be. We let it arise all by itself. And these very, very deep yogic skills, they cannot be forced. We can't do them. We have to do the HRV resonance and then let go and allow the tranquil breath and the freeze response to show up. We do the Om Japa in the chakras, and then we allow the roll-up of consciousness to happen. That suspire that Omar was talking about. I hope this gives you some ideas of some yogic goals you can set for yourself. Coming right up, the new year, just a few more days. I hope you love this. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you next time.